أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن مثل عيسى عند الله كمثل آدم خلقه من تراب ثم قال له كن فيكون الحق من ربك فلا تكن من الممترين فمن حاجك فيه من بعد ما جاءك من العلم فقل تعالوا ندعو أبناءنا وأبناءكم ونساءنا ونساءكم وأنفسنا وأنفسكم ثم نبتهل فنجعل لعنة الله على الكاذبين. Surely the case of Jesus with Allah is like the case of Adam. He created him out of dust, then he said to him, be, and he was, and the process began to be, we should say. This is the truth from thy Lord, so be thou not of those who doubt. Now whoso disputes with thee concerning him after what has come to thee of knowledge, say to him, come, let us call our sons and your sons, and our women and your women, and our people and your people, then let us pray fervently and invoke the curse of Allah on those who lie. We were about to finish the discourse on the first of the verses which I have just recited, that is to say, Inna mathala Isa indallahi ka mathali Adam. Now to sum up, well, I think there is no need to sum up, but as by way of conclusion, I should like to make a few observations again on this verse, particularly in the light of one commentary of this verse by Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salatu wasalam, which in fact sums up the whole matter. Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salatu wasalam has written, Inna mathala Isa indallahi ka mathali आदमी से कुछ भी ज्यादा नहीं, यानी इसमें सारे वो लवाजिम और अवारिज मौजूद हैं जो आदमी में पाए जाते हैं. Now this is the crux of the matter, that whatever is claimed in this verse is simply this, that Jesus is no more than an ordinary mortal man. So all the other commentaries regarding Jesus' being with Father or without Father are in fact, if not irrelevant, of secondary nature. The main purpose of this verse is to prove to the point Now, in the light of this, when you read the verse again, then it becomes very clear that this is one of those verses which stand out in their beauty and also in a very special excellence of oratory. Well, not oratory, but a very special excellence of expression of speech. Now let me say, expression of speech is also wrong. Mastery over language, I should say. Excellence and mastery over language. Now imagine that the knowledge of mankind since the time that the verse was revealed has been progressing. And the understanding of the creation of man has been going through material changes in various phases of human progress and knowledge. So the Holy Quran faced a dilemma at that time, apparently. The Holy Quran was addressing not only the man of that age, but also the man of the future age. And the Holy Quran, had it been a word of man, must have fallen into the trap and got itself bound to the ideas of that time regarding the creation of man and this and that. Particularly, the likelihood of falling into this trap now they emphasized that Jesus was without father. Now it is likely, and it is much more likely for a man, if it was a man who was answering this, to point out that Adam was also without a father and without a mother. That should have been the direct answer, to prove them false and to emphasize the fact that all right, Adam also should be believed to be a god because he had neither father nor mother. Now the sum total of man's knowledge at that time was this, that Adam was really without a father and without a mother. He was molded directly out of clay. Why did not the Holy Quran say that and pose this challenge openly in so many words? Because the Holy Quran was addressing the whole mankind for all times to come. And Allah knew concoction, not word of God. So this is the beauty of the Holy Quran, which I want to emphasize, proves to be operative in every such case. There are so many things in which Holy Quran refers to certain discussion, refers to certain beliefs, which at that time when the Holy Quran was revealed were positively and fundamentally different from those beliefs held by man today. And there are many examples which one can quote, but when you read the Holy Quran, search for those examples, be wary of finding them, then you will enjoy it much more. There are many instances which have also been quoted by some Christian scholars with great surprise, where one expects a book to if that book is authored by a man. If that book is written by a man, then repeatedly he passes through such areas of knowledge where the knowledge of that time was not only inadequate but positively defective and wrong. And for a book to cover those areas and not to fall into the trap of the local knowledge, this is a miracle. So this verse is an outstanding example of this case. It should have been studied in this light. So people at that time who understood that Adam was the first man ever born, for them the message was good and complete. So the earlier scholars have not committed a wrong when they discussed these matters in that light, because this was with reference to their own understanding. And the Holy Quran stood perfectly poised for addressing them and solving their problems. Now come to this age, now the meaning of this verse changes in the light of what we know. And the verse doesn't change. This is the beauty of this most fundamental source of eternal light. The light doesn't change, yet we begin to see different things and perceive different things. So what Hazrat Masih Maud has emphasized Now in the light of that you read it again and then you understand simply what the Holy Quran is saying. Inna masala Isa indallahi ka masala Adam. Like Adam was created, so Jesus was created. There was absolutely no fundamental change in two creations. And now we know that Adam was created through natural laws, and there was nothing abnormal and unnatural in the birth of Adam. In the light of what we have understood this event to be, that is the creation of man as such, now we know positively. Man had been created much, much earlier, and Adam was created in a manner that both the elements of male sperm and female egg took part in the creation of Adam. So to a modern man, this verse gives the message that why are you living in fantasies and imagining different things about Jesus Christ? God did not have to break his own laws in case of the birth of Jesus, as he did not have to break his own laws in the case of the birth of Adam. So the more you begin to understand, more similarities you will begin to discover. Because Hazrat Masih Maud is addressing this age, so he has made the matter very clear that this is the crux of the matter. There is no difference whatsoever. And in that, Jesus' birth is like any other birth. That is the point. Now, out of the companions of Hazrat Masih Maud, there is one companion, Hazrat Maulvi Sarwar Shah Sahib, who was a great scholar before he became an Ahmadi. And he was highly revered in India for his scholarly qualities and knowledge. When he became Ahmadi, he abandoned all that fame, just rejected it as meaningless, and came over to Qadian. At that time, he was offered a salary of 25 rupees per month from some government agencies or some other, I don't remember, but that was what the pay he was drawing at that time. Now 25 rupees at that time per month was a huge sum. What he was paid instead was 5 rupees a month. And he lived very respectably in that sum. And he also built some his own property, his house. It was his own personal property, and he lived very respectably. But he never looked back at those 25 rupees as any source of attraction. So for the sake of Ahmadiyyat, not only did he reject his fame, but also his financial, he made financial sacrifices, positive financial sacrifices. And he is the one who is the hero of a debate with Maulvi Sanaullah Amritsari, in whose praise, in praise of Hazrat Maulvi Sarwar Shah Sahib, Hazrat Masih Maud has written a full poem. And he has lauded his services and his knowledge and in the way he defeated Maulvi Sanaullah in the highest terms. And he was a very humble and very ordinary looking man apparently. I remember him walking in the streets of Qadian like he's just an ordinary humble man. And the only objection the children had against him was that he led very long prayers. So whenever Hazrat Muslim Maud was ill, we thought we have had it now. Maulvi Sahib he was very fond of reciting the Holy Quran, in the correct way. He was conscious of this fact. He used to say there are very few ulama in India who can truly recite the Holy Quran as it should be recited in its correct way from its makharij, from the correct sources. So, being highly proficient in that branch of knowledge that is called tajweed, he used to recite long verses of the long surahs of the Holy Quran, and he used to enjoy and got lost in that, we call it nasha, that sort of, he was intoxicated with the recitation of the Holy Quran in the correct way. And he lost count of time, and sometimes it happened that in the morning prayer, it was about for the sun to rise when he would hardly finish, This was the great Ahmadiyya scholar who had a very deep understanding of the Holy Quran. He stood out in his understanding of the Holy Quran, and all his observations regarding various verses at various times and discourses have now been published, long before been published under the title of Tafsir al-Salwari. I recommend this book because there you will find a man of his age who is very scholarly in the classical knowledge is transformed into a different enlightened person under the glow of Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salam. So that is the difference between an ordinary scholar of his age, even who is greater compared to the worldly knowledge, and a man who has accepted the Imam of the time and is working under the glow of his light, being illuminated from the light of God through that Imam. Now here is an instance of his understanding of the Holy Quran regarding this verse, and you'll bear me out that yes, he is very specially gifted in the understanding of the Holy Quran. Maulvi Sahib says that the old commentators, the classical commentators, have all gone to understand this verse in the sense that Jesus was without father, and this was the issue of discussion. And so the Holy Quran said, what about Adam? He was without father and without mother. So that is how the Holy Quran rebutted their argument in favor of Jesus' deity, being Son of God. Now after mentioning this, Hazrat Maulvi Sarwar Sahib says, that when I pondered over the various verses of the Holy Quran regarding discussing this issue, I was compelled to disagree with that attitude of the ulama. Because he says, khalaqahu min turabin, what the Holy Quran says, khalaqahu min turabin. It doesn't mean that the issue of father or mother is at all being discussed. The simple state is khalaqahu min turabin. God created him from dust. And when you read the Holy Quran, then you come across such verses applicable to every man. So where is the difference? Then he quotes regarding every other man, the Holy Quran says, Huwallazi khalaqakum min turabin. It is He who has created you from dust. So it's a common phrase applicable to everyone. So when the Holy Quran mentions the same thing regarding Adam, why should we consider that this is the issue in mind, that he had no father and no mother? This is irrelevant and meaningless. Then he says, particularly mentioning a person, one particular person, because this you may mean that perhaps it says originally you are, being son of somebody who was created from. But Maulvi Sahib says, no, addressing one particular person, the Holy Quran says, Akafarta billazi khalaqaka min turabin. O rejecter of truth, do you deny the fact that God had created you from dust? So this is an address which is generalized and comprehensive and also particular to every man. And Adam is no exception. Moreover, in no such place one ever thinks of parenthood. That's not the issue involved anyway. Then the word the expression kun fayakun has been taken up. This is why I insisted yesterday that the translation is not correct. It should be exactly as the Holy Quran has said, and we should not add tafsir to the translation here in this particular case. As Maulvi Sahib says, kun fayakun is said, which means in this all the people, whether they have father or mother or no, or whatever the case be, or children or no children, they are all mentioned under the phenomenon kun fayakun. And this is a constant time phenomenon which is not only limited to the past with reference to that time of revelation. It is a phenomenon which occurs continuously. Whenever God says kun, be, it begins to be. And ultimately it happens. So the Holy Quran says that, again points out that Jesus is not, the case of Jesus is not exceptional at all. Because that is what happens in case of everyone else and will continue to happen. So for kana, to translate it as kana, and it was, as if Jesus was at that time, this is totally wrong. It's against the intention of the Holy Quran. What the Holy Quran wants to point out is that this is what happens in case of everything which comes to be. God says be and it begins to be and ultimately happens. And this will continue to be in future as well. So any translation regarding the past is wrong. So he has gone into some other fine discussions, refined discussions I should say. The third point he raises in favor of his argument is, but before that I must say, according to Maulvi Sahib's understanding, the issue is that of istifa only. Whom did God prefer over somebody else? That was the issue. And Hazrat Maulvi Sahib points out that about Adam you read that Allah had chosen him. Istifa, the word istifa is used in the Holy Quran applicable to Adam, which means he specially chose him, selected him. So he says this is the issue involved, and the same istifa took place in case of Jesus Christ. Both were people who were Mustafa, who were specially chosen by God. And both had common past as far as their manner of birth was concerned. There was no difference whatsoever regarding their station in life as well as in their manner of birth. So Hazrat Maulvi Sahib says that is why the commentators should have brought into focus the words in the law which are used in this verse particularly. In the law means reference to status. So that is the issue. According to the Holy Quran, in this debate, what is mentioned is Jesus is no more than Adam. In the law they are alike. And you are talking of putting above Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So his position in the sight of God is no more than that of Adam. This is the issue, according to Maulvi Salih Sahib, which is being debated, and it should be understood in the light of the Quranic expression as this and as nothing else. So this, you can see how minute is his study and his power of analysis, faculty of analysis. This is the Tafsir al-Quran, which was published in the 3 monthly magazine up to June 1910. Now it is contained, this passage, on page 260 to 261 in the book entitled Tafsir al-Sarwari, Volume 5. The second very important point which Maulvi Sahib has raised, and to which I fully agree, is the meaning of mumtareen. La takun, فَلَا تَكُن مِّنَ الْمُمْتَرِينَ. Where is it? I mean, where is it? It is not here. इससे पहले है ना, वो कहाँ गई? बस पूछ रहा हूँ मैं, इसमें होगी, ठीक है. ये है सीरीज में, फिर निकाल लेता हूँ, ठीक है, आगे है. Now we turn to the next verse. Al-haqqu min rabbika fala takum min al-mumtareen. I told you yesterday that most of the mufassirin, that is the commentators of the Holy Quran, have found this verse worthy of special discussion because the Holy Prophet is addressed, and what is advised to him, and he is advised not to be among those who doubt. This is how the early commentators have understood this, and that is how they had to explain how can the Holy Prophet be addressed as be not one of those who doubt things, because he never could doubt, he never did doubt. So I have given you various explanations put forward. Now Maulvi Sarwar Shah Sahib has taken a completely different attitude from this, on the authority of the Holy Quran. He says that these, first of all, they misunderstand this verse, the other mufassirin, then begin to put forward excuses of various types. But we do not have to indulge in this exercise of defending the purity of belief of Hazrat Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, because this verse has been misunderstood by them. Then he says, you read in the Holy Quran, فَلَا تُمَارِ فِيهِمْ إِلَّا مِرَاهًا ظَاهِرًا. Here the word mira, which is the root of mumtir or la takum min al-mumtarin, he says this word is used in the Holy Quran in the sense of debate or quarrel. So the Holy Quran says, فَلَا تُمَارِ فِيهِمْ إِلَّا مِرَاهًا ظَاهِرًا. Do not indulge in any quarrel or debate regarding this issue with them, except for a cursory discussion or just formal light discussion, but do not indulge in any serious debate regarding these things. So the word mira has also the connotation of debate, and because according to the Holy Quran there was no more time for debate. The debate, Hazrat Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had enough debate with his opponents, and the Holy Quran was to change the subject from debate to another subject, another manner of forging decision. So this is the turning point. And now when you read this verse, again, now you understand what Allah says is, Al-haqqu min rabbika. You know, haqq, the truth, has appeared manifestly. When God already tells him it has appeared manifestly, why should he say that don't be one of those who doubt? So Allah is telling Rasul Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that you have already indulged in a very long exercise of argumentation and debate, etc. And you have proved a very successful debater on our behalf. You have established the truth to be from your Lord. You have established this beyond a shadow of doubt. This is why Al-Haq, the word Al-Haq is used. During the debate with the delegation of Christians from Najran. So you read in this continuity and then you begin to understand the true meaning of this verse. Already, O Prophet, you have indulged in a very long debate about which Allah tells you that you have proved the case to be, your case to be right beyond a shadow of doubt. So after that, there is no need to further discuss this issue. La takum min al-mumtarin. Instead, what you should do, فَمَنْ حَاجَّكَ فِيهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَكَ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ. After this, when God has already enlightened you on everything and you have also presented that case so clearly and effectively, if they insist on debating the issue with you, quarreling with you, then قُلْ تَعَالَوْا نَدْعُ أَبْنَاءَنَا وَأَبْنَاءَكُمْ. Then throw a challenge to them about mubahala, telling them that the time of debate is over. If you insist that I have not been able to prove my point, and this is what you insist, if you still believe that I have not proved effectively that Jesus Christ was an ordinary man, and he could not be literally the Son of God, then I believe that you are now insisting falsely. You have seen the truth. This is the point. Not only that Rasul Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam could not be one of those who are doubtful, this verse completely reverses the whole picture. It says, now you too have no doubt. I have been so effective in establishing the truth that you have begun to see it and you are hiding it. And because you are hiding the truth, the challenge of mubahala is only thrown on the face, at the faces of those who hide truth, knowing it to be wrong. And Hazrat Masih Maud ﷺ has further explained it. Now, this is why I said whatever Maulvi Sahib saw and discussed was in the light of Hazrat Masih Maud ﷺ's discourses. So he seems to be a completely different type of scholar emerging from an ordinary scholar of that time. This issue again has been taken up by Hazrat Masih Maud ﷺ, and he says that in mubahala, when you say Lanatullahi alal Kazibin, it is not said Lanatullahi alal Mumtarin. So, La takum min al Mumtarin here means you do not take the issue more because even they have no doubt. Now their attitude is totally false, they know it, and they know that they have lost the battle. But now they are insisting unnecessarily and hiding the fact, and there is no heart left in them. So they are kazib. And when somebody is telling lie intentionally, then a challenge of mubahala is thrown at him. Not at every Tom and Dick and Harry, everybody who doubts, because poor man, he is in doubt. How can he accept a mubahala? So this is the most beautiful commentary on mubahala made by Hazrat Masih Maud ﷺ, which makes many things clear for us today. And for Ahmadis, this is the lesson and guideline for the future to deal with their opponents. Some Ahmadis keep writing to me asking my permission to indulge in mubahala with those ordinary people who do not understand Hazrat Masih Maud ﷺ's claims, etc. And the point has not been proved to them beyond a shadow of doubt. And they write to me, permit us to do mubahala. I say, how can I do that when the Holy Quran doesn't? When the Holy Quran relates the process of mubahala only to that situation where the godly people have established beyond a shadow of doubt the truth of what they believe. And when they begin to believe that the opponent is now rejecting the truth after having seen the truth. Only that is the right time for you to throw this challenge and tell them that, look here, all right, there is no debate left anymore, and now you face the consequences of your own, this duality of character, of hypocrisy. You see things and you deny to accept those. In the light of this, when you study what happened later on, then you come across another mistake committed by the earlier scholars who had missed this point. Now, when this challenge of Mubahala was thrown to the delegation, as Rodwell also agrees and accepts this part of the history, that the challenge was thrown and was not accepted. Now, Rodwell says it was not accepted because they thought it was absurd, it's meaningless. The Muslim scholars say they did not accept it because they consulted certain Jewish scholars and some other tribes, which this has no root in history at all, this is just imagination. Some people might have mentioned this opinion much later, hundreds of years afterwards, and because they wanted to find at least some stick to lean upon, so they accepted those rawayat, those traditions. But anyway, the point which I want to make is that when they started searching for reasons why they should have rejected this offer of Mubahala, and they thought they were genuine, this is what is wrong. So they think that they rejected this offer of Mubahala under the advice of Jewish scholars. They don't have to go to that extent to find the reason why they rejected. The Holy Quran has made it clear. They are kazibin. They are liars. They know the truth now. It has dawned upon them clearly. Now they are rejecting the truth. How could they accept the Mubahala? So in Mubahala, this element of clear understanding and then rejecting is very important. This must be an integral part of that Mubahala. So the Ahmadis who are thrown challenges of Mubahala regarding this difference and that difference must not hasten to indulge into Mubahala unnecessarily, because any Mubahala which is accepted against the teachings of the Holy Quran would be meaningless and God would be on neither side. I mean, why should God start, taking action immediately at somebody's choice and bidding? All right, God, I have entered. So they keep writing to me, only a few days are left and only a few days left. Please, for God's sake, pray that such enemy is destroyed. And I keep telling them, don't behave foolishly like this. You have no authority for Mubahala. When you have indulged in it, it's meaningless. Maybe nothing would happen to either side. But occasionally, in some cases, a person is very severely punished, while apparently the situation is the same. Then I understood why in all those cases where the opponent had seen the truth of Ahmadiyyat and was persisting in rejecting it, when such a person was challenged to a Mubahala and he accepted it foolishly, then he was destroyed. So there are many cases in our reports here where sometimes suddenly a person is totally demolished and destroyed exactly in the terms as he demanded. So that shows perhaps he had belief in Ahmadiyya truth but had no belief in God perhaps. He took it very lightly, So in such cases the Mubahala works, not otherwise. Now there is so much to be said about Mubahala that from different angles, that I will not be able to finish this discourse today. Inshallah, we will continue this discussion on the fifth day. That's fourth day. Fifth day. We have already had 4 sittings. 6 sittings. This is 6th or 5th? 4th. This is 6th. I see. So in the 7th sitting, inshallah, next week. But I'll continue to discuss this issue in the routine manner. Now we turn to the verse, فَمَنْ حَاجَّكَ فِيهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَكَ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ. Now this is very clear. We should understand this in the light of the previous verse. So what is the meaning of hajja? I'll give you a glimpse into some scholarly discussions regarding this word hajja. For this, I don't have to quote, because it will be a very long exercise then. I don't have to quote all what I say about the meaning of this word, referring to each book. So I'll just give you the list of the books, authorities, based on whose opinions and observations I'm going to explain the word hajja or hajja, etc. Mufradat, Imam al-Raghib, Lisan al-Arab, Taj al-Urus, Al-Mujam al-Wasit, or Al-Qamus al-Muhit. These are the books which I have referred to in discussing this word. Al-Hajja, Hajja or Al-Hajjo, these are the three-lettered words of Arabic, root word, three-lettered root word of Arabic, Hajjun, which means initially to intend to do something, to go somewhere. And also, according to these books, to not only to intend to go somewhere, but hajja means to repeatedly go somewhere and to frequent a place. That also is the meaning which is in this, is covered by this word. So this is why, according to these scholars, when we read in the Holy Quran, Hajj al-Baita, it means why God has used the word Hajj with regarding to the pilgrimage of the house of Allah, because this is a repeated affair in which every year countless people go, and because of this repetition, the word Hajj is used instead of any other word. Now, when you will turn to its different form, which is under discussion, hajjaka, there also hajja means a person who insists in a debate even when he is defeated. So a man who is argumentative in nature and would not leave an issue despite the fact that you have repeatedly proved your point. I have come across many such mullahs who come and discuss various issues regarding differences between them and us. And I found sometimes some of people who are on whose way of discussion this word applies fully. And this is why the Mufassirin, and not only Mufassirin, but these scholars of language, they have pointed out that in the Holy Quran, except in one place, wherever the word hajja is used, it is used in a reflective manner, throwing bad light of condemnation on the way some people took up the discussion. So, faman hajjaka here would mean, even after you are having proved the point, if they insist on meaningless debate and mulish debate, then turn away and tell them the time is over for this now. So whatever I had to say, I'm not going to go on repeating unnecessarily. You may, if you repeat, if you are of a habit to repeat things. But what has been said is said. So this therein is a lesson for Ahmadi Dayin in Allah. Sometimes they come across such people who go on repeating their arguments. And Ahmadis also go on repeating their arguments. It's just meaningless. many a time I have found that particularly in the olden days, when the debates with Lahori Ahmadis was quite fashionable in the pre-partition days, and there were some Ahmadis who wasted their whole life discussing the same things over and over and over again with Lahori Ahmadis, producing the same arguments from the same books of Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salatu wasalam, listening to the same arguments from their adversary based on the same books and on other excerpts from the same books and so on and so forth. So once such a person was also introduced to me, and I was requested by some Ahmadis that we have been discussing these matters for years and years with such a person. Kindly help us and solve this. So I told him it's just waste of time. And I told him, the person who had come to discuss the matter with him, bringing quite a few books of Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salatu wasalam along with him, I said, look here, you have argued your point for over a number of years based on some excerpts of these books. Ahmadis, on the other hand, have argued their points. And this is happening to the third generation now. Your fathers did the same and your forefathers also did the same, without any conclusion. So instead of wasting our time on these things, let us find some other way of settling the issue. This is exactly the attitude of the Holy Quran here. Having done it, why go on repeating and rubbing the thing over and over again? Change to a more meaningful and decisive issue. So there, what struck me was this. I told him that, look here, you have insisted on Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Sani's position being wrong in whatever he understood Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salatu wasalam to be. So this is the issue, clear cut. Now, you are forgetting one other thing, that not only Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Sani, but all the sons and daughters of Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salatu wasalam, and all the sons and daughters and their further progeny of his children have sided with Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Sani on this issue. That is clear? He said, yes, very clear. And he was just being impatient to tell me, so what? They could all be wrong. I said, no, this is not the argument as yet. It's not complete. The fact is that you call this a destruction of Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salatu wasalam's message and total corruption of what he stood for. And a complete distortion of Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salatu wasalam's prophecy or whatever it was, his address to the people. So it's a very big crime. He said, yes, it is a very big crime. I agree. I said, now let's turn to a verse of Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salatu wasalam and tell me what he means by this. He says, Basharat di, Basharat तूने दी और फिर ये औलाद, कहा हरगिज नहीं होंगे ये बर्बाद, बढ़ेंगे जैसे बागों में हो शमशाद. बशारत क्या है? एक दिल की ग़िज़ा दी, फसुब्हानल्लज़ी अख़्ज़लाद. O my Lord, you had foretold me that you would give me a blessed progeny. And not only that, you had foretold me that you will see to it that they are never destroyed. And then you have fulfilled your promise. Alhamdulillah, God be praised that He is. So I quoted other verses from Surah Samin, proving the point that Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salatu wasalam does not only say that God had promised, but also clearly mentions that promise has been fulfilled. I said, after that, now what right do you have to believe in Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salatu wasalam even as a mujaddid? The debate of his being a prophet is meaningless and irrelevant. You, having adopted this position, have no right whatsoever of believing in Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salatu wasalam as a true man. The one who attributes these great things to Allah and says, God made His promise categorically, clearly, and then fulfilled it. How could he be a true man when, according to your position,
God, he is proved to be wrong in totality in every word of what he says. All the progeny of Hazrat Masih Maud has gone bad. Now, this idea came into my mind, in fact, with the help of a rare mobile himself. When I was a student at Lahore and I was residing in Ahmadi hostel, there was a very, very good man on the whole, but very simple-minded person as well, from among the Lahorites, who used to frequent Ahmadi hostel, come to Ahmadi hostel frequently and discuss the issue, and got partially convinced and returned home, and then got refueled by the ulama there, and then came back and go on and went on doing this. Now, he was very well-intentioned person, I must say. I couldn't see anything wrong in his attitude, his approach. He was, rightly devoted to Hazrat Masih Maud but couldn't understand these things. So he went back and got recharged and came back and discussed these things. Once I asked him, what is bothering you so much? We have discussed these things so many times, and I want to drop this matter now, finish with it, and you don't leave. You keep coming all the way, many miles from Ahmadiyya buildings, almost daily, and you waste my time, but you waste much more your own time. Why don't you just drop the matter? He said, look here, I must confess something. What is burning my heart, what is eating up my heart is this, that there is not a single person from the progeny of Hazrat Masih Maud who is of the view which I hold to be the Ahmadiyya view. So whatever the argument I present, this is something which is eating me up. I always feel, whenever I think of it, I feel a burning from within, and I say, why this? This is a contradiction. This should not have happened. So in fact, this argument which I, brought forward in favor of our point of view at that time was born out of the mind of a Ghair Mubai who was a right-minded person. So I must pay my tribute to that late person. He's dead. He died even before partition, I understand. But anyway, this is the turning point in debate, which is mentioned here in this verse. Enough of arguments. So whenever an Ahmadi comes across a debater, be he from among the Christians or from anybody else, any other community, he must not repeat the same things over and over again. If he has finished delivery of the message the way he understands, after that, this is the attitude you should say, all right, take your path, don't waste my time. Turn to somebody else. Or if he is positive that this man is intentionally distorting things, has begun to see the truth and still insists to follow the falsehood, that is the only time when he can throw the challenge of Mubahala and not before that. But of the Mubahala, inshallah, there's plenty of time, we can still continue. Now I turn to the other aspects of this verse, then I am going to discuss this issue of Mubahala at further length and depth, and about the Mubahalas of Hazrat Masih Maud and I'll discuss the Mubahala, or challenges of Mubahala thrown at my predecessors and at me as well by some of the non-Ahmadis, and what is the position there in that case. So Hajja means to intend to do something, to visit some place, but there is always a connotation of repetition that also is in the sense of argumentation. There's so many other things, I don't want to go into all the detailed discussions. But Hujjat as an argument, according to many scholars, is not argumentativeness. When it is used in the form of verb, hajja, it means somebody took up the quarrel and behaved even nonsensically and mulishly. But when the word hujjat is used, then it means a conclusive argument. And Azhari, a great scholar, has taken this view. And in support of this, I think it is Allama Raghib who has mentioned the verse Hujjatullah al-Baligha. What is the verse, you remember? وَلِلَّهِ الْحُجَّةُ الْبَالِغَةُ. Here the word hujjat is used, not in the sense of mulish discussion, but as an argument which has already become conclusive, after which there is no room left. Now during this discussion, a very interesting hadith is quoted by some scholars, and that is when you say somebody is Hajij, that means he is the one who is taking up the issue on behalf of some school of doctrine, and in that sense such a person is not mentioned in any reflective way. The word Hajij does not have the connotation of somebody having a bullish attitude. To prove this point, they mention that Hazrat Rasul Akram sallallahu alaihi wasallam, speaking of Antichrist, said that it is not for you to defeat him. When the time for Antichrist would come, when he would appear, if he appears in my time, I will be Hajij on your behalf. If he appears in the time of Jesus Christ or the second advent of Jesus, then he would be the Hajij and not you. So leave him alone. You are not concerned with him. Either I am Hajij or he is going to defeat. So here the word Hajij is not used in the sense of somebody who is mulish in his argumentation, but the one who takes up an issue. And also here the word Hajij has the good connotation of that referring to Hujjat. That you say Hajij is the one who completes the Hujjat on somebody else, whose argumentation is so wonderful that it proves to be conclusive. So in that sense the word Hajij is used. Now, again from this I inferred, it was a very interesting thought which developed from this, that Rasul Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam has also solved the issue in what sense he used that Messiah would do qital with Antichrist. Yaqtulul Dajjal are the words of Hazrat Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So will he kill him with the sword? Is that what is meant? This is the issue at hand. Now, when you consider the various connotations of the word qital, every Arabic dictionary would tell you that, not every, but major important Arabic dictionaries would tell you that the word qital also has the connotation of hot debate or disagreement or opposition or hostility and so on and so forth. So also qital means to defeat someone in argumentation. So Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself has thrown light in what sense he has used the word qital as applicable to the time of advent of Messiah when he comes next time. Because, and also he himself, he will be Hajij. He will not be Qatil of Antichrist. So also Messiah would be Hajij and not the Qatil of, that is to say murderer or killer of the Antichrist. He will be defeated in arguments, and that is how he will be murdered in in essence, not physically. So that is why Hazrat Masih Maud has mentioned Babil Lud in the same sense. Lud means to excel in argument, not excel but exceed beyond moderacy in your argumentation. Become illogical so that the person with whom you are arguing, he is unnecessarily involved in a lengthened out debate because of the wrong attitude of his opponent. So although both are involved in that lud, it doesn't mean that both are wrong. If one adopts a wrongish attitude, the other also is involved and dragged out in that debate. So Hazrat Rasul Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam has mentioned that Masih would kill Dajjal at the gate of Lud. And Hazrat Masih Maud has argued that here it means that he will defeat him in argumentation. And he will be, on the other hand, his attitude will be that of, obstinate, mulish argumentator without any real substance. Now when Hazrat Khalifa, I think some time ago, it was pointed out by Hazrat Maulvi Jalaluddin Sahib Shams or somebody else, then when they first discovered there was a Lud gate in London, that is the Lud, which was mentioned in Hadith. Because of course it is a metaphorical application of the word, but if also there is physically some place as Lud gate, and if a debate of Ahmadis against Christians begins to take place around this area, then the prophecy is that in the heart of Christianity, London at that time was the heart of Christianity, of course, you must remember. It was the heart of the Christian world, politically as well as religiously. So, for a Babil Lud to be found in London is a very interesting coincidence. So Hajja means Lud also further explains the word Hajij, that it will be a debate which will destroy Christianity and not the real physical murder of some Christians. Abnana has been taken up here because this word is mentioned while Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam had no sons. But the fact is that when you study the use of the word in Arabic, you find out that the word even generally is applicable to the issue, not necessarily always to the sons. Aba also includes mothers. Forefathers, the word forefathers also includes the foremothers. And Abna also means the children, both male and female. But unnecessarily, the old Mufassirin have inclined to understand this word to be applicable only to sons. So the Shias have benefited from this, and because according to some traditions, Hazrat Imam Hassan and Imam Hussain were some traditions which are not reliable, I must say. I will discuss this issue later on. Were among those whom Rasul Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam had actually gathered around him and proceeded for Mubahala with the Christian delegation. So they say that they were the sons of Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Holy Quran says they were sons, while they were grandsons from the daughter side, not from the son side. Now this issue has been so hotly debated in the previous history of Shia Sunni debates that strangely some Muslim scholars, even of the caliber of Hazrat Imam Shafi, has started inferring jurisprudence from this application of the word abna. So he is the one Muslim scholar, one jurisprudent, who has given the edict that the grandsons and granddaughters will inherit their grandparents even if their own father or mother have died in the lifetime of the grandparents. Why Imam Shafi has taken this position is because of this verse. He says because according to the Holy Quran, the grandsons from the daughter's side have been referred to as sons of Rasul Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So wherever the Holy Quran discusses the issue of inheritance of sons, then they are included, the grandsons are included. And so he is the only jurisprudent in the Islamic great schools who has deviated from the normal accepted view of the others. And based on this verse, while absolutely it has no jurisprudence value as such, the issue is a completely different issue, and because the other party is also involved. So the word abna had to be used anyway. Mubahala is in between the two parties. If Rasul Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had only been referred to, and this application of abna was only limited to the case of Ahadra Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, then perhaps there was some room for mental exercises as to what is covered by the word abna. But here is the case of a mubahala, where there are two parties, and there, of course, naturally one expects that when large number is being discussed, they would have their abna. Then the one other thing which you must remember very clearly is, just a minute. The tense used is, the form used is this. Nad'u abna'ana wa abna'akum. It is in plural. Nad'u abna'ana, which means we call our sons. Now Rasul Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam does not say, or is not told to say, I call my sons and you in plural call your sons. Abna'akum is understandable because there were many. According to the traditions, there were eight members of that delegation. So abna'akum is understandable. Why abna'ana? Because God sometimes refers to himself as na, in plural terms, to express grandeur. But Ahadra Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has never been referred to in the Holy Quran in plural terms when he refers to himself. He always refers to himself in singular. This is very important because in the debate following, you'll find this a very important argument in favor of the Ahmadiyya view against the Shia insistence of something else. Here the whole Muslim society is mentioned. Abnana means me and my followers. And as such they have sons, of course. Even if the word son is limited only to the male issues and doesn't cover the female issues as well, still this is the important thing you should not forget, that the whole Muslim society is mentioned here. We call our sons. So Rasulullah's sons are not singled out, and this is not the debatable issue at all. So when you bring this to focus, then the Shia position falls apart immediately. Then some scholars have positively taken this position that Ibn does not mean literally a son, and they say that because the son is a representation of some characteristics of his father. So the word ibn means anyone who contains the same characteristics. That is why it is widely applicable in Arabic, and you say ibn harb, and which means the son of war or son of battle, which means a man who in his nature has that warrior, the fighting tendency and battling tendency. He is referred to in Arabic as son of war. So the real meaning of the word son is to have characteristics of someone else. And also, according to these scholars, the word son and binat, abna and binat, are applicable sometimes to the followers' daughters and followers' sons. So from Surah Lut, they take this verse to quote in their favor, Haulai banati hunna athru lakum. And this is a very, very interesting observation made by very highly intelligent scholars, because mostly the commentators have fallen into the trap of believing the version of the Old Testament that actually what Hazrat Lut did was that he offered his own daughters for rape or anything to his opponents in exchange for release of the prisoners, not the prisoners actually, but in exchange for sparing his guests whom the enemy wanted to imprison and use wrongly. So this is obnoxious, unbelievable. This is an enormity to believe that a prophet would offer his own daughters for anything in exchange for anything else. I mean, this is an untenable position. So Jamaat Ahmadiyya, of course, has differed, but unfortunately, many earlier scholars have taken this position. Now it shows that these great grammarians and the scholars of Arabic also were bothering about this, and this particular scholar has come out with the answer that the word binat here is not used in reference to the daughters of Hazrat Lut at all, because according to the Arabic usage, the word binat and the word abna, both can be applicable, can be taken to apply to the whole people who follow a leader, be he a prophet or what. So when you say our daughters, our sons, it means all of us together. Nisa is the second word. You see, the word Nisa is the plural of al-marato, because the word al-mara is applicable only to a singular woman, and there is no plural derived from the word mara. So the plural of mara is always either an-nisa or an-niswan. But Ibn Sida, also a very renowned scholar, has mentioned that Nisa is the plural of Niswatun, because Niswatun is also used in singular. It is all right, it's correct. But still the question arises, what is the plural of Al-Mara? So the plural Nisa could be the plural of both Al-Mara and Niswatun. There is no other plural for Al-Mara. Imra, I'm sorry, not Mara. But here is written Al-Mara. I think it should be Imra. Maratu as well. Imratu Firaun. Imra is used, Imratul Niswan, Imran, alayhim. That's not Maratul Firaun, Imratul Firaun. Malik Sahib, you would know better. जहाँ तक कुरान करीम में आया है लफ्ज़, वहाँ इमरा का लफ्ज़ इस्तेमाल आया है, मरा का लफ्ज़ नहीं इस्तेमाल हुआ। वो तो ठीक है, पर यहाँ मरा क्यों लिखा हुआ है? मरा तो गलत है। मरा भी आता है औरत के लिए, दोनों। I understand, but they should have mentioned the word imra, because in the Holy Quran the word mara is not used and imra is used. Is that not right? मरा तो नहीं ना इस्तेमाल हुआ कुरान की? Yes. So, but mara is also right. In Arabic, both mara and imra are used to mention a single woman. But there is no plural from either of the two words, imra or mara. So the plural is always in the form of nisa and niswan. Anfusana wa anfusakum is also used. There is a longish discussion about the word nafs. So I think we better skip it. It is unnecessary to involve here in this case into that longish discussion. Only you should understand that the word nafs is generally used to apply to persons of any nature or any type or any kind. And also you should remember that the word nafs is not only applicable to human beings but to anything. So when I pondered over this question, I thought that the best meaning of this word would be, which is applicable to everything, is anything which has consciousness. خَلَقَكُم مِّن نَفْسٍ وَاحِدَةٍ, which means at the earliest stage when life was created, that first form of life is referred to as nafs. So anything which has consciousness is nafs. And also the Holy Quran uses this word in application to Allah Himself. وَيُحَذِّرُكُمْ نَفْسَهُ. يُحَذِّرُكُمُ اللَّهُ نَفْسَهُ. God warns you against His nafs. So nafs is the essence of the consciousness. You may refer to it as ruh or even not ruh, but as I have said, after scanning the whole thing, my analysis is that the safest word which is applicable in every case is conscious being, whatever he is. God or man or animals, everything has a sense of his own existence. This is what differentiates the inanimate world from the animate world. So nafs is applicable to all the members of the animate world. Nafistu bi kaza is also a very interesting usage of the Arabic, of this word in Arabic, which means I have fallen madly in love with something. So again the same connotation is present. If you love somebody as you love yourself, this is the maximum you can do. So nafistu bi kaza actually is derived from that same sense of consciousness, the entity, the inner entity. So nafistu bi kaza means I love such a person so much that I identify him with my own inner entity. What could be beyond that? So that is why the Arabs use it in the sense of falling in love madly. So there is one last word, nabtahil, which I want to discuss. After that we'll call it a day for today. The word nabtahil is derived from the word buhl, which means if some proprietor, some owner of something, abandons his property to let whatever may happen to it and becomes unmindful of taking care of what he possesses, then this act of such a person is referred to as buhl in Arabic. So why it is used here in the Holy Quran in the sense of a challenge to call destruction upon yourself. This is the issue which should be understood, and when you go on further studying the word buhl and its applications, then you will begin to understand what actually mubahala means. When the Arabs say bahalatil marato, it means that a woman is either widowed or her husband has abandoned her in a state that she has no issues either, none else to lean upon. So if somebody is totally deserted and left without assistance from all sides, that state is mentioned under the word bahala, or like they say bahalatil marato. So when you say abhalan naqata, it means somebody ceased to take interest in his she camel, whatever may happen to it. She is abandoned. He has ceased to take interest, even to the extent that if somebody else comes and milks his she camel, he doesn't care. There is no longer any interest whatsoever in what may happen to it, who benefits or who kills or destroys. So total loss of interest in something which belongs to you. If it is applied to a king or a wali or governor, etc., istabhala al-wali ra'iyata, it means that that king or sovereign has ceased to look after the affairs of his people. So there are other usages, but now as far as our purpose is concerned, that has been made very clear what nabtahal means. Nabtahal means that if you believe that somebody is not from God and you insist in rejecting him or his position based on revelation, and you think that you are from God, this is the issue always involved in religious debates. In essence, who belongs to God truly and who does not belong to him and belongs to Satan, and so on and so forth. So the word nabtahil means, all right, let us pray to Allah that if we do not belong to you, then show it to the whole world that we do not belong to you. Leave us alone. Leave us unprotected, totally deserted from all the natural protections which look after us from so many sides. You better withdraw those protections and leave us abandoned to die our own natural death and be destroyed. Now this is a very, very great, this is grave prayer, because when you study the Holy Quran, you come to the conclusion that ordinarily we live normally, safely, such lives as do not seem to be specially protected by Allah. But it is wrong. At every step we are specially protected. And the moment that protection is withdrawn from life, the life is bound to be destroyed and annihilated. So this is a very grave prayer. It does not mean that particularly destroy us. It means withdraw all your blessings and protections. Lahu mu'aqibatum min bayna yadayhi wa min khalfihi yahfazunahu min amrillah. Umbrella is the word used here in the sense of forces of nature which act negatively against life. So the Holy Quran says that you think that when you do something in the night, under the cover of night, and when you walk in the streets, you do it automatically and it just happens in a flow. He says it is wrong. For every such person, lahu muaqibatum min bayni yadayhi wa min khalfihi yahfazunahu min amrillah. There are forces and factors and agents covering him from front and from behind, protecting him from the negative decree of Allah. Although nobody can be saved from amrillah, but here God himself says yahfazunahu min amrillah, in the sense that on both sides there are decrees of Allah. And there is one decree which is constantly working for the destruction of what is. So the whole phenomenon of decay is constantly working. That is the one decree. On the other hand, there is another decree working against this decree, so that you live and walk in between the two on the small edge. So the moment God withdraws that coverage, you are finished. Nabtahil means this. All right, let's pray to Allah to withdraw that positive decree of His against His own negative decree, and let's see what happens. So inshallah tomorrow we'll take it up from where we have left.